So today's learning is all about mentor texts. And so you have watched the video, the 3 A's of awesome. You have created your own list of things that you thought were awesome. And now we're ready to dig into what does this kind of writing look like. So on the slide, you will find a link to a Google Doc that has 8 or 9 mentor texts for you to take a look at. These mentor texts are texts that one of them was actually written by Miss Sunderman, who is a 6th grade teacher on Team 6-6. And then the rest come directly from the book 100 Awesome or 1000 Awesome Things. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to dive into those texts. We're going to read 3 of them together, and then 3 of them I'm going to let you choose to do on your own. So here's what I'm going to ask you to think about and keep in the back of your head as we're looking through these texts. When we look at mentor texts, remember our purpose in reading this is a little bit different than the books that we read or the stories that we read when we're doing Making Meaning. When we're doing Making Meaning, we're noticing things about comprehension and understanding the text. When we're reading a text as a writer, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out how did the writer do that. So we're looking at the techniques and the things, we call it writing craft. We look at the craft that they have used when they wrote these pieces, and we look to see what can we steal and borrow from them and try that craft move out in our own writing. So there's a couple of things I'm going to ask you to think about and keep in the back of your mind as we're reading these texts. The first thing that you're going to want to think about is we're going to start easy. What do you notice about how the writer wrote that piece? Not why they wrote it or what it was about, but how was it written? How did they craft that? How did they write that? So some things that I'm going to ask you to keep in the back of your mind. What do you notice about the tone of the writing? And the tone is just the feeling. What do you get? What feeling do you get after reading it? Some tones are really serious and solemn and sad, and some are a little bit goofy and lighthearted. What do these sound like to you? The other thing I'm going to ask you to think about, or another thing that you could notice, is the word choice. What kind of words do you see this writer using? You might also think about how this is organized. I know the very first question that's going to come to most of yours is, how long does it have to be? How much do I have to write? So that's one thing to look at. Look at how long these entries are. How many paragraphs are they? What do you notice about what goes in each paragraph and the way that it is organized? And then the last thing I'm going to ask you to maybe think about is think about sentence length. Take a look at the way that the writer uses their sentences. Are all the sentences the same length? Do you notice some sentences that seem really short? Are there places where maybe the writer has broken the rules a little bit? I'm willing to bet that you're going to see some major rule breaking going on in here. Thinking about sentences that have just one word. There might even be a couple of examples where there's paragraphs that just have one word. So pay attention to those and think about maybe what effect that has on you as the reader as you're reading that piece. Those of you in advanced language arts, remember when we did some work with purposeful punctuation and interesting punctuation? That would be another thing that you could pay attention to and look at. What do you notice about the punctuation marks that are used? What kind of punctuation is used in there? And again, are there places where this writer has chosen to break the rules? There's not a right or wrong to these, because here's what I'm asking you. What is it that you notice? Because remember, if we can notice how a writer does something, then we can copy it. So what's going to happen is you're going to move to the mentor text. The first 3 mentor texts, when you pull it up, you'll notice there's a link on those 3 on each of those pages. And on that link, there will be another video, awesome video starring me, where I will go through those 3 texts with you and model for you what you might notice. You are welcome to watch all 3 videos if you want. If you watch one video and you're like, okay, lady, it's overkill, I get it, I can do it on my own, you are welcome to do that too. What I suggest you do is keep a notebook handy if you have access to some paper, and I would just create a list in my notebook. What I noticed, I might go ahead and label maybe a 2-column chart and have one side mentor text, put the number, and on the other side go ahead and put down what it is that you noticed about that text. You are going to be posting your noticings to what's called a Jamboard, and there are directions on the slide how to access your class's Jamboard and how to post on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at all of the things that you guys are noticing, and that'll help me figure out what mini lessons we need to do the next day for our learning, so we know what we want to copy in our own writing and how we get there and the techniques that the writers did, because you are going to be, at the end of this, you're going to be producing some sort of writing about something that you have selected on your awesome list, something that you think is awesome and amazing, and you're going to be writing and publishing, that's right, publishing, other people are going to see it, your awesome entry. So I look forward to see what you guys are noticing, and I can't wait to see all your smart thinking.